Hey, what's up you guys? Bright2J back with an all-new Yay Toys Plus, and today's review is going to be on the Medicom MAFEX number 75 comic book Spider-Man figure. This is the one that we've all been waiting for. How great is it? Let's open it up and find out. And here's Spider-Man out of the box, and I gotta say he's very MAFEX-y. So, let me define MAFEX-Y for you guys. I'm a big MAFEX fan. I've been a fan of this line now or fan of the company rather, for a while. They were probably one of the first imports that I started buying back in 2014. Maybe even 2013, whenever Batman was their second figure, because Midtown Comics didn't ever get Spider-Man 1, which was their very first figure ever. And then I was told they weren't gonna sell, and therefore when you go on eBay, it was just an insanely big price. But anyway, that's a ramble for another thing. I could even bring that up on the podcast later this week. MAFEX, they're an acronym. They're Miracle Action Figure EX is what they stand for. So MAFEX, you say it, it's tomato, tomato, potato, potato, right? So this figure is almost perfect, but the little MAFEX issue is that the QC needs a little bit more work to make it perfect, right? They're not going to be the figure arts level perfect, right? They're going to be close, but not quite. I mean, they are their own company. So Spider-Man here, I have him rocking the Peter Parker head sculpt, and I think this looks pretty awesome. He's a bit pale, but that's not a big deal for me. It kind of works with the figure. Now, I also have him holding the mask, which I think is a pretty cool feature. It's a solid piece of plastic that's supposed to represent folded cloth. It takes a minute to put into his hand, but once you get it in there, it holds, just don't shake him. Right, but I need to take this out just to show you guys a few things, okay? And I'll talk more about that mask in a minute. When I talk about the accessories. So here is a closer look at the Peter Parker head sculpt, and it's more of a early 30s Parker, I think. Now, this is a very great figure. It really reminds me of the pre-Marvel Legends Toy Biz era classic suit Spider-Man with the sculpted in line work, where not all the lines are black. There are sculpts in certain areas where the black misses. I had a similar issue with the Toy Biz one, but it's cool. It's cool. I mean, maybe one day, if I want to risk it and take a pen, like a thin line Gundam marker or something, and fill that in, maybe I'll do it, maybe I won't, who knows. If I do it, it'll be on the Instagram. Yeah, so anyway, let's talk more about the figure. This figure is pretty amazing, no pun intended. Well, maybe a little, because this is how we do things on Yay Toys Plus. I'm really liking it. The only issue that I had with this figure is with this arm right here, and I don't know if you could really see it, but the elbow joint in that little split right there, it popped out, and I had to use a lot of physical therapy to get it to go in. It holds, but I need to be very careful. The peg isn't stressed. I thought it was at first, but it turned out it was paint, so you can get them to go in and out like that, but just be very careful when posing it around. I had to use a lot of hot water, well, warm water, or tepid, and get it just the right amount of consistency to do my physical therapy with them. But that's not stopping me from liking this figure. I mean, sure, QC is going to be a thing, especially when buying a MAFEX figure, and it's one of those things where you kind of get annoyed because MAFEX raised their price, and the QC is still not great. I mean, they've come a long way since the first ever Spider-Man figure, and say Batman number 1, Batman number 2. I mean, third version's actually pretty good. But and then the Amazing Spider-Man figure from Part 2, it didn't hold up well in certain areas, but the joints held up, and that's where I was going with that. So they've certainly improved since the original thing, since their original release, and then, now they're 75 figures in, at least with him, 75, and then we all know we have Cyclops coming, and Deadpool, and Venom, and, Wolverine, and God, just please take all my money, especially with Deadpool, because I'm a big Deadpool fan. So, yeah. Let's get talking about this figure, because I could ramble on about things all day, as my wife likes to poke fun at me about. Speaking of my wife, she actually got me this lovely figure for our anniversary. So, yeah. Go wife. The figure's great. I do like the head sculpt. I think it looks really, really fantastic. I like the smirk. I like the attention to detail on the face printing. It's not face print technology, because this is based off of a comic and not of a live person, such as the John Wick figure, which I really must own. I really like it. I think, aside from it being a little pale, it's fine. The paint on the hair is really cool too, and they put some black wash in the brown, and I think that's really awesome. Now, being that everything's sculpted in, you could actually see that the Spider logo is sculpted on, not just painted. The Toy Biz one was like that too, hence why it's kind of modern version Toy Biz era of pre-Marvel Legends. The paintwork is pretty spot on. I do like the metallic blue with the black wash in there. Yeah, it's just really, really cool. Do like the way the red came out for the Spider logo in the back, also sculpted in. Only thing I noticed is that the red on the neck and the red on the outfit aren't quite the same red, but that's not a big deal for me. I don't care. I do like the fact that we have a Spider-Man figure where you don't have the joints popping out in random color to not go flush with the suit. So that's a first, and I'm really digging that. Yeah. So, all in all, fantastic figure. I do like the clean line work. Well, should I say the mostly clean line work. But as you get to certain areas, you do lose some of the black. And that's not really a big deal. I didn't really care when I had it on the Toy Biz one all those years ago. So, that's pretty much it on the figure itself, in detailing. Forgive Sandman not being fully on camera, because he's a tall bath. Now, if I go and get somebody like Shocker, right? I get my Shocker figure. Despite his winking face, I do like this figure. Move Sandman out of the way. Don't want to knock my camera over. So here's Sandman, okay? With his winking face. And here is Spider-Man. And as you see, they stand pretty tall together. Pretty well together. Because I believe Shocker's a little bit taller. So it kind of works. So it's nice that you can get him into Marvel Legends style poses. I mean, it may not work perfect for you, but just do some cropping and some camera angles, and you'll get it to work, Yeah. So, he's a pretty awesome figure all in all. Now, for articulation, he's quite articulated. They really did a good job. So the head and neck are on a separate piece, so you can get them to look side to side and have it flow with the neck. Alright, you do have a butterfly swivel in here, which goes in pretty far, and they go back pretty far. Arms go up pretty far as well, and then you can get the arms to go all the way around. Now, in the older MAFEX days, this would pop out, and you'd be like, oh, And I still remember the days of Fall Apart Batman, which I still have, and I still like the figure, but I like version 3 a lot better. Anyway, so moving on, you do have a bicep swivel. Now, joints on this figure are pretty tight, and I do recommend loosening them up with like lukewarm water, okay? He does have a double jointed elbow, which goes in pretty far, right? He doesn't have any other turn there, but he does have the fully functional wrist peg where you can get it back and forth and then twist it around to have it go up and down. He does have a really decent diaphragm crunch. Goes back really far too, so if you want Spider-Man doing all those like perfect dodges, you can get him to do that. He has side to side at the waist, so you can get him to really flex really nicely. Crunches in really far, and then the waist goes back pretty far. You do get really nice waist articulation as well. You have that old school drop down method, which makes his leg kick up about that far, but you could angle it where you can get him to do some really good roundhouse kicks. Just be careful, you don't want to pop the joint. It does go back in, just because it's MAFEX, you want to be careful. Without that joint, he kicks out about that far, kicks back about that far. But when you drop it down, kicks out a little bit further. There is a cut in there, so that's pretty cool. He has double jointed knees, which go in pretty far, or back pretty far. He does have a really nice ankle articulation with the side to side, and then really good pivot, and he has toe articulation, which is a little tight, but it's there. So yeah, that's all the articulation on this Spider-Man, so you can get him pretty much posed in any Amazing Spider-Man photo that you want. I mean, there are limitations, and you don't want to break your figure, but you can get a decent amount of stuff. So with that being said, let's talk about all of his accessories. So the first accessory that I want to talk about, and I want to talk about this one first because a lot of times I tend to forget about it and have to re-record the whole segment. So the first accessory I'm going to talk about is the flight stand that he comes with, or the display base. The Metacom bases are probably the best ones I have. I used to use these a lot with my Marvel Legends figures. And I know a lot of guys in the reviewing community use these too. They just work really well. And then you got this piece here, right? So this piece here has a couple of Phillips head screws, and you can loosen and tighten to your liking. And you got articulation here at the bottom, in the middle, and down here. And then you would just plug it in like so, in any of these pieces, 1, 2, and 3. And then he of course has this part right here, which is the clasp, also adaptable, or adjustable, I should say, with the Phillips head. And it goes right on like so. So yeah. Another cool thing too, a nice little feature, is that they added this little hook part right here. And that's for one of his spider webs, which I'll get into. So let me put that part on. Plugs in like so. And that plugs in, just plug it back into the base there. Doesn't have to be perfect. Yeah, so it's this one right here. The spider web that makes it look like he just grabbed someone. So here it is right here. I know a lot of people wish that the spider webs were more on the clearer side, like the Amazing Yamaguchi one. No, the Yamaguchi one was white. I meant to say the Amazing Spider-Man 2 Spider-Man. That was clear. That's where I was going with that. So yeah. Looks pretty cool. I do like it. It's pliable. It's not bendable, but it is pliable. And what you do is there's that piece there in the middle, and you plug it in there. Like so. And then when you put it into his hand, it looks like he's, you know, he just got a villain with this, you know. So that's pretty cool. Leave that to the side. While we're on the subject of webbing, he comes with a lot. So not only do you have the one that I just showed you, but you have this one right here. This is, no, it's hard to see against the white background, I'm sorry. This here is the swinging away type of web that you would put into his hand and just mimic those swinging through the air poses. Next up, you get a pair of long thwip hands, thwip webs. Really nicely sculpted and detailed. These are all pliable, just not bendable, so be careful. And then you get a pair of smaller thwip web. Yeah. So there's a lot of decent webbing with this figure. Right, so you get all the webbing. So you get 6 webs in total. You also have, as you saw, the Peter Parker head and the mask, which here is a better look at the mask. Let me move my camera there. No, still not perfect. Had my camera a year. I'm still learning it, so bear with me. Oops, dropped it. Yeah, so right here, looks really cool. You know, it's just him taking his mask off and, you know, resting on a rooftop or whatever, you know, or whatever you want to do. But that's pretty much the idea. Is that when he wants to take the mask off and breathe, you know, there you go. For hands, you get a pair of really nicely sculpted and detailed wall crawling hands. These look really, really cool. As you saw on the figure, he has some relaxed open hands. You get a pair of web grabbing hands. You get a pair of fists because, well, Spider-Man has to knock out some thugs, right? So here's your fists, really nicely sculpted as well. Of course, Spider-Man would not be Spider-Man without his thwip hands. And these look really cool, really nice detail on there. And now a little bit of a bonus feature without really being a bonus feature. The Amazing Spider-Man 2 figure had the same thing where he comes with a pair of hands that have a magnet, so you can actually hold it where if you have anything metal around, it'll stick to each other. And you can make it look like he's wall crawling, and that's pretty awesome. And then lastly, for body parts, well, actually no, I got heads. You have a pair of feet that have the same magnet in there. One of my magnets are loose. I can show you, like, sure, now it doesn't want to come out. But one of these popped out earlier, and it's just a little bit of glue will hold it into place, because I had a loose one last time as well. But yeah, these hold really well. And I'll show you how to swap those on. Now, lastly, for body parts, you have not one, but 2 different head sculpts with the mask. The one on the left is the one that came on him in the box, and the one on the right is the separate one. What I like about these two, it's not just the head. You got like this little piece of plastic around it as it's the mask, and you can see it on the neck, where it holds really well on there and just looks like the mask is over the face, you know? I like that. That's a really cool feature. And to pop that off and on, it's pretty simple. Just take the head there at the neck, and we'll put this one on here. And it's a little tight on mine. Actually, all the joints are a bit tight on mine, but it does plug in. And then if you want to swap out the head, just pull from the neck, and then put the other head on like so. Yeah, it's really, really awesome. I like this. You know, despite my 1 or 2 gripes with this figure, with the elbow and the slight MAFEX-Y paintwork or whatever with the lining, it doesn't really matter. It's more or less a fantastic figure. Now, really quickly, I'll show you how to swap out the hands and then the feet. So here's the little peg that comes on the figure there. We'll put a fist on Spidey. And then you just want to very carefully and very slowly guide it on, because you don't want to break anything. It does take a minute, but it does go on. And, you know, it holds on really well. And then as for the feet, basically just hold by like the joint here and slide. And it comes right off. And then we'll put on the foot and make sure I got his proper foot on. Yeah, here's the proper foot for that leg. Oops. And what you do is you just, it's on an angle here, so you don't want to just push down. The hole is in there, so you just want to guide it. Yeah, and then we'll do it with the other one. I'll show you guys again. Just easily take that out and take the foot. Again, the hole's at the top. Just angle it and just guide. Yeah, and it's in. It's tight and it holds, and it's a pretty awesome feature to have. So it's definitely a really pretty fantastic figure, to be honest. I really like it. But yeah, that's pretty much it for this review on Spider-Man. I really like this figure a lot. It's very posable and a lot of fun to pose around and just like, you know, just have a great time with it. Just be careful with the joints because you don't want to break it, but it does hold really well. Yeah, I really dig this figure. He has a little bit of trouble standing sometimes, but that's cool. Okay. Got him to stand like that. So yeah, there he goes and falls again. So as I futz around with him, let me just, you know, close out this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate all the subscribers and all the likes and shares. Really means a lot. You could, of course, find this video on InnerCityGeeks.com, where we have a whole bunch of content, including the latest episode of the Inner City Geeks podcast, which you can also hear on Spotify. So the latest episode went up. We're on episode 151. Whew, I can't believe we're that far into the show. But yeah, we're up on Spotify, and you can also listen to back episodes on Spotify as well. We're also on Google Play and Stitcher and SoundCloud, but we really love that we're on Spotify. So yeah. You can, of course, follow me on all the social media stuff. You can follow me on Instagram at YayToysPlus for the channel, and you can follow me on Twitter for BRI_2J, Bri2J on the Twitter. And I'll try to post a lot and be very active. So thank you guys so much for dealing with not having content on the channel for a little while. Pretty much since the Toy Fair stuff. I've been in the process of moving, and I'm finally moved in and finally settled, and the new studio is set up here with a nerd cave anyway. At least the table where I review is set up. So it's really nice to be back and share all my thoughts on these wonderful figures with you. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next one, whenever that may be. Peace.